Oh, doctors, I'm feeling so much better already. Thank you.
Hang in there. You'll be out of here real soon.
Yeah, don't worry. You get better so much soon.
Oh no, I'm so much worse than when I first got here.
Oh no, you got a hospital-acquired infection.
Don't you worry, Cuprem Fabrics is here.
I'm saved.
See you later, bacteria. Copper.
It just makes sense.
Unfortunately, in the United States alone, 1 every 25 patients will acquire a hospital-acquired infection. These hospital-acquired infections can come from a multitude of sources, but recent research has shown that bacteria does transfer from the scrubs of nurses and doctors to the patients, thus potentially causing a hospital-acquired infections. These hospital-acquired infections are extremely costly. It takes around $35 billion to $45 billion to treat annually.
Our solution, it's simple. So our product takes copper nanoparticles, which have natural antimicrobial properties, and infuses them with medical scrubs. And so these medical scrubs are durable, meaning that the copper nanoparticles won't just wash away, and they work in any condition in terms of climate and humidity. And not only that, another plus is that they prevent odor from building up because they reduce the number of odor-causing bacteria.
Our product kills microbes in several ways: oxidation, cellular toxicity, and free radicals. Within the cell, the copper nanoparticles disrupt important functions that allow our product to be effective against microbes. And as you can see, there are various kill mechanisms that contribute to the antimicrobial properties of our product.
Our company plans on utilizing 2 processes to make our product. The first process synthesizes copper nanoparticles using an in situ polymerization method. And so for all my chemists out there, this is just basically a huge redox reaction. Once the copper nanoparticles are synthesized, we plan on embedding them within fabric using microencapsulation. And basically, microcapsules containing copper nanoparticles will be infused with fabric, thus making it harder for the copper nanoparticles to wash off.
We have a few competitors in the market currently. For example, companies like Clean Apparel manufacture clothing embedded with silver nanoparticles. But the difference between our product and their product is that we embed our clothing with copper nanoparticles. And our copper nanoparticles are better antimicrobial agents because they're more versatile and work in various conditions. Additionally, the price of copper is much cheaper than silver. To put this into perspective, silver is a whopping $300 per pound, while copper is only $3 per pound. There are also copper-coated workout clothes in the market, but they're coated. With our product, we embed the copper nanoparticles, so they're encased within a microcapsule, and that means that it's harder to wash away.
Now, as you can see from this chart here, different fabrics have widely varying costs, and ours is notably much cheaper than silver nanoparticle products. And so, as a side note, all of our copper nanoparticle prices come from our calculations based on how much it takes to buy the reagents in bulk, and how much we would like to pay our workers, other utilities, while still making a decent profit.
As you saw on our previous slide, we plan to market our scrubs for $27 each. It takes around $13 to manufacture the scrubs once you take into account the materials and production. That gives us a $14 profit, or a profit margin of 52%. It would take approximately $486 million to supply every single healthcare worker in the United States right now. As you can see on the chart, hospital-acquired infections cost around billions and billions of dollars every year. With our scrubs, we can reduce the amount of hospital-acquired infections every year, thus reducing the amount of costs that hospitals have to pay from these hospital-acquired infections. Later on, we plan to expand to athletic gear, clothing, gym mats, and many more, which will give us more profit later on.
Now, this is how we would like to see our company progress over the next few years. And so we expect around $3 million from investors to take us from our prototyping phase and our testing phase all the way until our product launch date, and until we're established in bigger companies. And so we would like to break even by roughly 30 months after the entire process begins.
Our vision is to provide protection against hospital-acquired infections and make it affordable as well as accessible, because we firmly believe that patients should not have to suffer from something that can be easily prevented. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact us at cupremfabrics@gmail.com. And thank you guys for listening to our business proposal.
Okay, I'll start.
What a surprise.
Okay, so I think that you guys have very clearly identified the problem. The question is, it's not entirely clear how you are solving it, where the solution is. So the greatness of copper and silver and the different economics and all that you guys talked about. But the problem is, how do you keep them from washing out a fabric? And you said embed them in the fabric. But fabric is actually a really porous network of fibers. So there's no in to embed. So how are you going to keep the copper from washing out of your fabric?
We plan on incorporating the copper into microcapsules, and then the microcapsules would be the way the microcapsule works is that there's a core surrounded by a wall, and then the copper will be within the core, and then the wall would be made of sodium alginate, and then through the process, the microcapsule will be very secure, and once through like a process of soaking and drying and curing, the fabric will retain the microcapsules, and there has been research done that proves that the microcapsules are retained within the fabric.
And to add on to this point, with the research that has been done with the washing, after 25 careful hand washes, the antimicrobial activity was retained over 90% of its effectiveness, and even after 50 careful washes, it was still very effective and killed bacteria.
So who did this study?
We based our science based on an article that used a embedding method that we use in our product.
But so then is somebody else already using this embedding method? If it's been studied, is there another company that?
Currently, there are no companies that embed copper nanoparticles within fabric because the research is still being done, and there's still more exploration to apply this technology into the commercial market. But the technology to make this product profitable is new, and we are basically taking advantage of that.
So would you have to license intellectual property from whoever is doing this basic research? And if so, would you need to put those costs into your cost estimates?
Well, as far as our research has gone, we've only found one lab that's kind of done the study. So we haven't been able to contact that lab, but if we do in the future, we will definitely see what their opinions are on the matter.
If we find out that we do require to license it, then for sure, without a doubt, we would incorporate that into the pricing.
I heard a phrase that was very interesting, careful hand washing. So, I don't know, I don't carefully hand wash too many things anymore. That seems to be a really important aspect of this, and I'm just wondering the likelihood that people will actually do the careful hand washing.
To clarify that point, in the research paper that we based our information on, it said that after 5 cycles of washes, the antimicrobial properties were still retained, and 5 cycles of washing was equivalent to 25 careful hand washes, and that's what I meant.
In the research, they didn't wash by hand. They used the cycles, but they just added the information, like, just so we can know, like, what a cycle means. So the article that we based it off of, they did 5 cycles, was it?
5 and 10 cycles.
Yeah, 5 to 10 cycles of washing, and then the antimicrobial properties were still retained after the washing.
Oh my God, they had to do laundry for their research.
Our mom told us.
So your market's to hospitals, right?
Yes.
Hospitals have very limited budgets, right? They operate on sometimes very thin margins. So everything that you sell to them has to have an ROI, right? Return on investment. How do you attribute? Have you done the study on how do you attribute the amount of cost savings, or actually the clothes itself being the perpetrator of the bacterial infections throughout the hospital versus those surfaces, right? There's a lot of studies being done on surfaces being the part that needs to be wiped down and whatnot, right? Your hands, for example, they're the ones most in contact with the patients, So have you guys done that study to be able to prove out that ROI for the hospitals?
Yes, we actually have done that study. In a study in 2016, they tested whether or not bacteria will transfer from the scrubs of the nurses and doctors to the patients. And I believe it was 10% of the time, the bacteria that was in the pockets and on the outside surface of the scrubs did transfer onto the patient. So there is a risk of a patient developing an infection from the bacteria.
Zhao, can you go back to the first slide, please? The one, the 45 billion.
This one?
And as we mentioned before, the 45 billion, hospitals spend 45 billion to treat hospital-acquired infections, and based on that study, 10% of the 45 billion would still be 4.5 billion. So our product would still help hospitals save a considerable amount of money.
Also, I'd like to make an important note that our clothing prevents bacteria that might land on it from surviving, and when physicians touch their clothing and work with the patient, this reduces the risk of bacteria transferring from their clothes to the patient, because if any bacteria gets onto the clothing, it would be killed.
Time for one more question, if there's one.
So how did you come up with this project? What drew you to it?
You want to start from the very beginning?
So we did some research on nanoparticles, and of course, silver nanoparticles is already in the market, but we were thinking about how we can make this technology newer and more profitable. And that's when we turned our attention to copper nanoparticles, which currently is still developing. The technology is still developing to embed it within fabric. But if this is done, the product would be cheaper and better at the same time, which is the goal of our product.
Fun fact, we were looking into shoes and socks, but they already made those.
All right. Thank you, guys.